You are listening to American Tower Climbers.
This is your host,
Brian motherfucking Campbell.
Saddle on up, hold on tight,
and enjoy the ride.
because we will be going live in 3, 2, 1.
All right, 3, 2, 1. All right, man. We had some. I had some apple. What'd you call them?
You got some crab apples.
Yeah, man. I think since Steve Jobs died, I don't know what they're doing. But anyways, welcome to American Tower Climbers podcast. This is my boy Neal here. Welcome.
Yeah, thanks, man. It's good to be here. It's a Saturday morning. Got a cup of Joe from Maverick. We're good.
Hell yeah. All right. Hopefully it doesn't freeze up. Anyways, let's take this from the top. So, what I wanted to know is how you got into your field and maybe explain what your field is.
Yeah. So I work in wind energy, those big wind turbines. Most people call them windmills. Man, I got in late 2007, right out of college. I studied business at UC Riverside. I'm a California boy, California native. Man, I just wanted, honestly, bro, I wanted to save the world. I was like, man, I just think I could do something good. And I started applying everywhere I could. And it just so happened that I'm applying and I have a family member in wind energy that I don't even know that he's in it. I thought he worked in oil, and it was my big uncle Steve. And he's down in Texas and he's building wind farms. And I'm like, holy crap. So he puts me on. It kind of gives me a shot. He doesn't know me that well, so he wants to make sure that I'm worth a shit. And brings me out to Minnesota. It was like damn near like Canada. Like it was like
So cold.
Yeah, it was 20 minutes
Not
from
down.
Canada.
Not down.
It was a site called Taconite Ridge, and there were like bears, like black bears running around the site. And I was like, shit, I'd never seen, man. I'm from California.
Yeah.
And I'm like, man, I haven't even been up in this country.
Hey, isn't that ironic? Our state animal is a bear. I've never seen a bear in California in my life.
Yeah. I live in Utah now. I've seen more bears here in Utah than I've seen in California. That is ironic. And that's how I got on. Uncle Steve put me on, and I was in the supply chain early on. Like I made sure all the components came to the site. I mean, there's a lot of materials that have to go into building one of these modern marvels, and studying business and supply chain management is what I did. And I got in that way, and I did that for like 2.5 years, 3 years, built wind turbines throughout the United States, different projects. And then I came to Utah, and I just kind of fell in love with the state. I fell in love with a girl. And I decided to stay. Nice. And I became a technician, and I was a technician for like 8 years. And that's where Tower Climbing Grease Monkeys was founded. And that's a community of wind turbine technicians around the world now. It's a lifestyle brand, and it champions the blue collar worker out there, actually getting it done. So that's what we're all about. That's
awesome, man. The first time I came across you guys had, I came across your Instagram. I didn't really, what attracted me was the monkey faces, the masks. Yeah. I saw a tower, and I saw some like monkeys going up the tower, a picture of it. And I'm like, that's pretty dope. I like that. So
yeah, those guys.
I was following you for maybe, I don't know, for a while, maybe 6 months, maybe even a year or something like that. And then you reached out to me and you sent me a video. To be honest, it was like, I think I got cut off or something. So it's kind of weird. He's like, it seemed like you were faded or something. You're like, yo, I see what you're doing. I like it or something. And then that's all I saw. And I was like, thanks. And then you were like going off of something else and got caught off. And I was like, what? And then that's when I really attracted to your Instagram. And I saw, and I was like, yo, we're like on a parallel universe, because after talking to you, you started around 2012, 2014, I think you said, an Instagram page.
Yeah, with really popping off on social media, it was like 2012, yep.
And then, I started one. And for me, I was like, I just got in. I accidentally fell in love with tower climbing. Actually, before I go to that, so exactly, I've been waiting to ask you what exactly from start to finish. So I think I have an idea. The one thing is the base of it is a casing that they put concrete in. Is that how the tower is stacked on? So it's similar to tower climbing, and then from there is the tower hollow.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. It's a steel. It's a hollow steel tube.
Okay.
And it's mounted on almost. It depends on where you're at in the region and like obviously like the soil and all that, but usually like a huge mushroom, upside down mushroom in the ground with just like tons of rebar. And then you've got studs coming out from that, and then the tower bolts onto that, a bunch of bolts around it, and then it stacks up. And modern turbines are 80, 90, 100 meters tall, and then you got
Of course, it has to be in meters. I was saying, of course, it has to be in meters. We're so jacked
everything
up.
in meters. I'm not sure why. I think it's because this shit started in Europe. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like 300 feet, 300, 400 feet.
Yeah, no, it's the same. In tower climbing, they have things. My company is in Sweden, based out of Sweden. A lot of stuff is based out of Sweden. So sometimes I'm telling people, hey, could you give me 3 feet of that, or give me 2 meters of this and that? We're always going back and forth. So there's always that. And then in the center is there a ladder or pegs.
Yeah.
So you climb inside or sometimes outside, or primarily just inside the tower.
Well, it depends on the tower structure. Some turbines still have lattice towers, and you
Palm
climb
Springs.
on the outside. Those are older usually, but companies are always experimenting, trying to figure out what's the best way to drive costs down. But yeah, primarily you're going to climb up a steel tube. There's a ladder attached to the wall. Some of them use magnets, like huge, like permanent earth magnets that hold that ladder up. And then if you're lucky,
wait, hold up. So the ladder is held solely on magnets.
Yeah, on a lot of turbines. Yep. Like
no way.
Turbines are primarily magnets. Yeah, they're big old magnets too.
Do they ever fail? I'm assuming they don't, but do they ever fail?
Nah. I mean, it's pretty.
Do they ever shift while you're climbing?
I've climbed up a lot of Vestas turbines, and I never had it. But
okay.
I primarily worked on General Electric turbines, and we didn't have that. We just had bolts and welds and stuff, you know. Yeah. I don't know why they do that particularly. I always thought it was a little weird, and magnets are expensive, so I'm not sure why they do that.
That seems a little sketchy, but I'm sure it works. Because I mean, there's welding and bolting, and I've heard so many back and forth. Welding is the best, but then I've seen some pretty bad welds, and so I'm like, I don't know. I'd rather trust the bolt sometimes. So okay, that's insane. So sometimes you have a ladder in the inside. Sometimes you have a ladder on the outside. Always in the inside. You never climb. You never climb outside.
And then if you're lucky, you work on a turbine that has like a service lift, and you don't call it a man lift because it's not really supposed to be for a person. But you know, if a guy's having a hard day, he's gonna ride in that shit. And
so you're never supposed to ride in it. Is it for just equipment?
Yeah, mostly. Yeah, mostly for equipment. That's how they deem it. Because if you
I'm sorry. Okay, so a man lift. You're talking about like a JLG outside the tower.
No, like inside.
Okay.
Inside. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, because we call man lifts like the 4-wheeled. That's what we call them, like the JLGs. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, from the ground. Yeah, telescoping. I got.
We call those man lifts, but you have almost like a service elevator. That's what I'm picturing in my head, and then you guys call that a man lift.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and,
gotcha.
I think there's some details in there where you don't really want to certify for human use because then you have to like bring in people from the elevator union and all that. And
yeah, I'm sure people are going to be riding them, but we won't say anything about that.
rode them all the time, man. When you're like, damn, this is my sixth one today. Like, I gotta ride this thing.
Yeah, no, I mean, I understand the inspections. I had to work on a rooftop. It was to get to where I needed to work. You had to go up, I think, about 5 stories. You had to go underneath the AC interduct, then jump on top of an AC interduct, and it was like a jungle gym, right? So the first few days we used the elevator, and I'm talking the equipment we used is antennas that I kid you not weigh about 120 pounds. So so we scoped out the first day on site, how to get there. I'm like, okay, cool. Then we used the elevator the first day. The second day, Spectre came by and said, oh, it's not up to code. It's a brand new elevator. It wasn't up to code or something. I don't know. It just didn't have permits. So we had to haul all that stuff on our shoulder. And so I understand that it's a safety factor, but sometimes it's like, so you got to have to get more people involved with inspecting it. And it's usually like every 6 months to a year, someone's got to inspect it and more money. So like you said, companies trying to drive down costs. Do these man lifts typically always work, or they're kind of they're kind of sketchy, or?
Yeah, no, I mean, wind in general is very safe. I mean, it's a big industry. It's energy. A lot of people eyes on it, and definitely wind is putting their best foot forward with safety. It's really safe. And I would say that most sites have really sound equipment and are keeping it up to date. I mean, these are big powerhouses, man. Each turbine is making like 2-3 megawatts of power, and that equals a lot of change, man. I mean, like a lot of money. So, I mean, they're going to be able to invest in good equipment to take care of their guys. Some people, I'm sure, are working on sites where it's a little sketch, but in general, I mean, it's the future. Like, they're pushing it forward. It's good.
Yeah. Okay. So, all right, now you're going all the way up. And how tall are these towers usually? Average?
Yeah, 300 feet.
Wow.
At least, 300 feet. So, I mean, average guy, if you're just normally climbing, it's going to take you about 8 minutes to get up it. Some people take 15 minutes, take breaks. There's decks in between. Usually they're decks that have like corrugated steel, like so air could flow through.
Gotcha.
So
almost like a landing.
You can look all the way down.
Almost like a landing pad.
Yeah,
you could
like
step off.
That's usually like all welded and bolted. So it's a deck you could stand on, because you need to be able to torque all of the bolts that hold the tower cans together. And there's usually like 4 sections of towers.
Yeah, I see.
So you need to have somewhere to work. And so you get up, and then there's a what's called a yaw deck. A yaw deck is the position where the top, the big, let's just use this funny little thing here.
Yeah.
This is the nacelle, this big thing right here.
And when you say a cell, is that I'm thinking of a battery. Is that or no?
A nacelle. It's a French term, but it's basically like this is what houses everything is in here. Oh,
the whole structure.
Yeah, so this piece right here is the nacelle.
Okay.
This is the rotor.
Okay.
This is the tower. So the yaw deck is where the nacelle and the tower meet, and it pivots like a turret, right? It rotates 360 degrees either way, and so you have a series of bearings and gears and bolted connections there and brakes, and then you get up into the nacelle, and that's essentially like the motor house, right? And that's where the generator is, the gearbox, the main bearing, some electrical connections, top box, and it's pretty spacious, man. Honestly, some of them are kind of small just because they're older and they're not as big. But
and how's the temperature usually? I'm assuming there's no AC in it, or is there AC units?
It depends on if the customer. You could get these things decked out, man. I mean, you could get fans and you can get heaters, but some of that stuff is all just auxiliary, right? Like, are we going to buy that? Do we need that? But yeah.
So there's not a need for it then.
There's heaters if you pay for them.
Gotcha. No, the only reason I'm asking is we have shelters where we have our equipment, and we have to have AC blowing to make sure that things don't overheat. So there's nothing really in there that will overheat. I'm assuming you're dealing with more mechanical stuff than small computers.
So in the base of the tower, you have a power converter. You have a main control cabinet that has SCADA equipment, communication equipment. You have some things in there that are regulating temperature, but nothing that needs to be super cool. And then up tower, the same thing. But yeah, we have like gearbox oil coolers. So the gearbox has about like 80 gallons of oil in it. If it's a turbine that has a gearbox, not all turbines have gearboxes. Some of them are direct drive and go straight from the rotor to the generator. And those utilize permanent magnets or electromagnets.
So okay, let's get into the physics of it. You have your turbines, your blades, correct? Is that what they're the same thing? Mm-hmm. Turbines. So those spin. Yeah, generates blades here. Generates electricity, friction.
Yeah, kinetic energy. I mean, it's blowing on the front of this. These pitch out, so there's pressure here, pushing, and then it pushes it forward and makes the rotation.
Now, do you guys usually set the azimuth, or is it on a pivot where it'll catch the wind, or there's a sensor, it'll say, okay, we need to turn it? Is it automatic? Do you guys set it as manual?
Yeah, in the beginning when we commissioned the turbines, we set the true north and azimuth, and then what we do is we use a wind vane, which is just telling you which way the direction of the wind is going, and an anemometer to tell you how fast it's going. And the turbine's controller will actually go, okay, it's blowing 3.5 meters a second this way. We need to yaw the turbine to get into the wind. And yaw. Yeah, it's like that's what they call it, to turn it.
I think there's a rap song of that. Yaw, trick, yaw.
Yeah, yaw. Yeah, I don't know.
So that's cool. So in the beginning, it sounds like it was fixed. You would fix it. Is that correct or no?
Are you meaning like fixed it like fixed, or like I had to fix something?
No. Like all right, we want it to point 350 degrees, and then you would bolt it down in a sense, and now it's fixed. It can't move at all. Yeah. Okay.
In the beginning, you just zero it out because it can rotate like three or four times before the cable gets too bound up.
Ooh.
So you think about it, we have to transmit power down.
Correct.
So it's called drip loop, right? A drip loop is just like the power cable that has a lot of slack and allows it to spin that many times. And then if it spins too much, it'll just unwind and then go back to where it's supposed to.
You know what that reminds me of? You ever have a BMX bike back in the day?
Yeah, the gyro.
Well, before that, do you remember before you had if the cool kids, they had a long cable so they could spin their handlebars like 2 or 3 times and then go back. But sometimes they get caught and they would land backwards and then just eat it. And then the gyro came out. Man, I forgot who did it first, but that was, man, if you had one of those bikes, you could spin that all. I don't remember the trick names, but you could spin it all day.
Yeah.
So that's
bar spins.
There you go. Yeah. There you go. So same concept. You're working on the 1.0 kind of where you need a long cable before it snaps. So that's interesting. And then so now
we do have technology. They're called slip rings. We do have technology that transfer power, but for those big power cables, it's just not. It's just not like feasible. It's just not really needed.
No,
all you got to do is just make a big long, what they call diesel locomotive cables. We're talking about cables that are, probably like 2 inches thick, if not more.
Yeah, no, that's a lot of weight to be hauling up. I was a lineman apprentice out in Texas, and we had this thing called million wire. I don't know why they called it that. I don't know if that was a technical name or they named it that because it felt like you're pulling a million wires at once. But I just remember 20 feet. Dude, this thing was like solid copper. It was
all those up, man.
Yeah. 20 feet of that. I could barely hold it up. We had like 3 or 4 guys just trying to hold up, I think maybe like 40 or 50 feet. So I can imagine. I mean, we have hybrids, so we have about 6 to 12 strands of power, and then also fiber, and it's maybe I'd say 1.5 inches, maybe a little smaller than that. But I've had to pull those up by hand up a tower 150 feet, so that's crazy. To have 2 inches of wire, and I'm sure it's aluminum, copper.
Combination, actually, like
that's
usually aluminum on the
thinking,
outside, copper on the inside. And things constantly progress, man. I mean, when I started in 08 or late 07, 08, and 09, like this thing it was like cowboy days, man. Like we didn't have all the tools to like help us pull a lot of the things up. You know, some of them were like conceptual turbines that were like having issues that the design engineers didn't even, think about. And then we're out there, technicians, basically bringing up the gap between the design and the actual functionality. I remember working on a Clipper turbine, which was a made in America turbine. It was a really cool deal. And they had they had the drip loop, right? And we're talking about like a big bundle of these things, like huge. And there was like this natural sway that would occur, like when the turbine was going, just woo, 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 right? And what was happening was this group of cables were just swinging. Like we filmed it, and then we ended up putting like string pots and things to like analyze the sway of it. Well, it would sway so much sometimes in the early, concept of this thing. It swayed so much. Sometimes it would hit the ladder or it hit the bus bar and it would be like boom, like explode. We were like, oh shit! Like I had to go up there and splice those out, take them out, put in new ones. We're talking like crimping big ass things, and then. Yeah, man, those days would wear you out, and there was no like crane to like pull them up, but nowadays, man, I mean, these guys have thought about everything, and so
it's funny. No, I appreciate that, man. I don't know. I guess as you get older, you start, especially when you're in construction, you geek out about stupid stuff. My girl really wanted to go to the Grand Canyon. So that was, I think, about 3-4 years ago. And I said, okay, let's go to Grand Canyon. So we go to Grand Canyon, and she's over here in awe of the scenery and the bend and the water and all that stuff. And I see this old structure, look like a mill on top of a hill. And I was just fascinated. I was like, what is this over here? And to anybody else, it just looks like a rusty, just like a house. It was like almost like an old warehouse or something, but on top of the hill. So I'm over here reading the plaque, and I remember as a kid, I don't read that stuff. When I go on vacation, I don't read statue plaques and all that stuff. So I'm reading it, and back in the day, there was a cave at the base, and I don't know. I mean, it's got to be almost, 800 feet up from where this cave is, and the cave is, maybe a couple miles away. And what I'm getting at too is, they had a gondola. You know what a gondola is? Like when you go, So they had a wire, man, I think like this big, and they had it going all the way into this cave to get guano, bat shit, and then bring it up to this mill, right? And then I forget what they used the bat shit for, but I think it was for like manure or something, and they made a company out of it. And I'm thinking, how the hell did they get this wire from 800 feet up all the way down to this cave back in the day? Like I'm like, to me, that's what spins my head, because
power, oxygen, like I don't know, leverage.
They didn't have cranes back then. They didn't have. They had manpower. That was it. So stuff like that, I'm like, man, so I understand. I can relate what you're talking about, like the old cowboy days and stuff. You figured things out. You just figured things out.
Figure it out.
But now looking back, you're probably like, damn, if one thing snapped or one carabiner or
or if I just had some better like Petzl equipment or like some like leveraging equipment, I was like, I could have did things way smarter. But
instead
I just like just use your arm, bro.
Yeah.
Get up here, we'll get this thing done. It's like, I don't know. It's like all primitive.
The dumbest thing I've ever done, man, I was new, so I did it. We were pulling this hybrid, and it was in the middle of the tower, kind of like the one you got. So we're pulling in the middle of it, and it's 150 feet up in the air to the top. So 3 of us are pulling it by hand. And keep in mind, we had a capstan. You know what a capstan is? Or a cat head? So, okay. So it's like a winch. Just think of a winch, but it could, it could haul 2,000, 5,000 pounds. And I told my foreman, hey, why don't we use this capstan? You hook it up to your truck, you put rope to it, and you could lift everything. It's like,
okay.
yeah. So I'm like, hey, why don't we use this? And then, we can't use them on towers. And I'm like, why? I mean, I thought that's the whole reason. Like, no, it could pull down the tower. He always told me it could pull down the tower. Yeah. So I'm like, okay, whatever. So we pulled this hybrid up by hand in the middle of the tower. And it by the time it gets about 50 feet, you're dying, right?
Yeah.
So one guy says, hey, let's...
So it can capture your progress?
Okay, yeah, that's what I'm getting to. So actually, Petzel, shout out to Petzel. I see your hat there. We call it like a rope grab, or I don't know, like a capture. I don't know what you're talking about. So we pull it up, and one of the guy goes, well, the first one, we had to pull two of them. So the first one, they pulled it up by hand, and they would just hold it. They get tired, and they would just hold it. And yeah. So the second one guy tapped out, and I was like, okay, I'll go up there. So we're pulling it up, and one guy goes, hey, why don't we get the rope grab, and we'll attach it to our chest. So we're pulling up this hybrid, right? And then when we get tired, we attach it to our chest. Well, my back is like, buckling. But the craziest thing, yeah. And the craziest thing, my foreman told me, like, after a few years, he's like, hey, remember that one time we pulled a hybrid? I'm like, yeah. He's all, that was the dumbest thing ever. And I was like, yeah, I guess it kind of was. He goes, what happens if we fell down? Oh, it was a porthole, maybe, I don't know, 5 inches in diameter. Yes, yeah. So I'm like, man, we were dumb. But at the time, we thought we're geniuses. Whoever was like, I just remember, he's like, hey, let's use that rope grab and attach it to us. And we're all like, oh, why didn't we think of that? So I totally understand. But I'm assuming now you guys use cranes to pull that wire. I mean, you have to use some kind of.
Oh man, yeah. When we're talking like construction stuff like that, man, so many tools that can be used, and that's the kind of stuff that you build once and then usually don't even have to mess with. I mean, the only reason we had to mess with that is because it was like a concept turbine, and we were figuring it out as we go. But they got these things dialed in. There's no reason why anybody should be doing that right now.
No,
I mean, they stack them and track them and keep moving, man. And yeah, nobody should have to go and mess with that kind of stuff. The main things that people are working on right now, like as they maintain them over their 20 to 30 year life, is, they're doing regular scheduled maintenance, greasing, making sure everything's good to go. But also just like electrical or hydraulic troubleshooting, making sure all of the core functionalities there, communications, things like that.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, you can control a wind turbine from your laptop or your phone, because it's plugged into a network, right? As long as you have all the passwords and everything to get past the firewalls. And I mean, I managed a wind farm for like 2.5, 3 years, something like that. And I would log in from the house and I could turn them on and off. I could be like, left, right, would do whatever I wanted. Like I could turn fans on. I'm like, hey, this is cool. Like it was like, when I first did it, I thought it was the coolest shit in the world.
Yeah.
I was like, oh,
no, it's cool, man.
Now I gotta work from home.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think we all want to eventually work from home, but once we get a little bit older, well, at least for me. But so then these turbines, how fast do these things spin or can? What's the maximum that they could just go?
Oh shit! I mean, you could look at YouTube and see all the failures and see some seriously like bad shit, right? But that's like, let me just tell you, that's few and far between, bro. Like, yeah, all those failures, they're cool to watch. Like, I like watching them. They're called runaway turbines, and basically something really bad went wrong. Like these turbines, I mean, it's like $1 million a megawatt, and we're talking about 3 megawatt towers or more. So we're talking about like $3 million machines. Like, they protect themselves. They have logic within them that protects themselves from doing that. Yeah. And there has to be some serious failures for stuff like that to happen. But on average, man, depending on the wind speed, right? Because it's driven by the wind. Yeah. You can, I mean, they shut down at a certain, like every tower has a spec, like I'll only go this fast. And if it goes any faster, I'm going to shut down. I'm going to pitch the blades back. That's my primary braking system. And then I got a huge hydraulic brake that I could just clamp down and stop this thing. I mean, the hurricanes and the big storm in Iowa, like just recently, nothing happened. Like they can weather the storm. But blade speeds can go well over the tip. The tip is where it's the fastest of the tip of the blade, and I mean, well over 100 miles an hour.
Damn. Now, is the protocol
a football field, man? Like the diameter, like the circle, the diameter
is a football field.
Size of a football field spinning.
No way. That's crazy. I never really thought about that. That's huge. That reminds me of it's funny, like the center, or when you go on the freeway, the lines on the road.
Yeah.
You know how long they are?
How long the lines? Oh yeah. I don't know, man.
Yeah.
3 feet?
Someone told me like, hey, how far? I'm like, like a foot or 3 feet. Look on the freeway next time. You'll be like, oh, when you're in dead stop traffic, it's almost like, I think, larger than a car, car's length.
Yeah.
So it's kind of the same concept that the blades, I never really thought about it. I'm thinking it's maybe 100 feet, but now you're saying a football field, that's way more than 100 feet, so like it's the size of a football field, like this whole circle, like from here to here. Yeah, no, right? Yeah, I understand. Yeah.
The individual blade is like
from the bottom of the tip to the top of the tip, right?
Yeah. Like the whole, the diameter across.
Now, is it proper protocol to always have the blades on lock when someone goes up there, or sometimes it's spinning and people are working on it?
The only time you got to lock that out is when you go in the hub. So you can actually go inside of this part right here.
The propeller, the propeller?
This is the hub, the thing that connects the blades together. So these blades are bolted on to this hub.
Oh, you can walk in there.
You can go in there, yeah.
I mean, like, you got to be crouched, or you could kind of...
The new ones, no. I mean, you can do jumping jacks on that motherfucker with some dudes. Like, the old ones, it's crowded, it's tight. Like bang your head on stuff. But, I mean, the new ones, it's just huge, man. And we're talking, like, big-ass motors in there that can pitch these things, or rams with hydraulics. So 2 different types of turbine, like, designs. Some use hydraulics to pitch the blades. Some use electric motors.
Yeah.
I like the electric motors one because I don't like hydraulic oil all over me.
Yeah, well, I've heard my buddy. He's my shout out to Kyle McLaren. He's my right hand man at work, and he's from Britain. And he that's what I think you might have talked to him for a little bit, but he came out here doing wind turbines, and he told me that, I was like, hey, would you ever go back? Because I guess there's quite a bit of money involved in it. There's a couple of guys in American Tower Climbers. Yeah, there's a couple people in my American Tower Climbers. Some guy said, hey, I want to become a wind guy or whatever. And I was like, I didn't think there was that much money. And then I talked to my buddy. He says, yeah, if you do it right and set it, you can make a lot of money.
Yeah, if anybody out there, I mean, let's be honest, we're trading people back and forth. They go back and forth, and people go where the money is. So if anybody's interested, they can hit us up on Instagram, Tower Climbing Grease Monkeys, or wherever. And I got like this little pamphlet I give people. It's like, hey, look, check this out. These are some of the companies in the business. Here's some of your options. Because I got asked so many times. I mean, so many people asking me now. It's like we had to create something to just give it to them, because trying to explain it was just getting daunting. And I just would ignore it a lot. People were like, dick. I'm like, dude, you don't know how many people hit me up. Like, I'm not trying to be a dick. I'm trying to live my life. I got a little kid. I got a business to run. Like, don't be an asshole to me because I don't respond to you.
Yeah. Damn, I haven't got any of that. For me, I know what you're talking about. I have a lot of people from out of states, in different countries, and like, hey, I want to get a job with you and stuff. And they seem like hard workers, but it's beyond, especially right now. A lot of people are hitting me up. I'm like, dude, that's way beyond me. One, just to get a visa, it's over 10 grand. It takes up to 2 years. And not to knock people
about that. And I'm like, look, man, I'm not a guy. Like, you gotta get on with a big company. Like,
you could get sponsorships, but not to knock these people down, but I'm like, it's a commitment. Like, it's not like you come out here and you feel it out and stuff. It's you got to have the money, you got to do it right. And but with the whole coronavirus, work's been up and down.
Stay where you're at. Like, we're not. I was supposed to go to the UK this year, man. We're gonna do a UK tour.
Oh, that's awesome, man.
I didn't I got shut down. I was like, I can't spend 2 weeks in quarantine in a hotel in the UK. Like that's not good.
So I back in the lineman apprentice, I had to do like schooling for it. So I know a little bit about the physics of a motor. I'm assuming it's like a brush. I forget what it is, but like a brush and a magnet or something like that. I forget what it's called, like some kind of a motor. Is that how it works?
About a generator.
Yeah, there you go. Generator. It's a generator, pretty much. Yeah. And is that considered DC or AC?
So there's all different types.
Yeah.
And it depends on the turbine type. I mean, there's like 5 major OEMs in this business, original equipment manufacturers. I mean, and depending on the tower you go up. And I also mentioned there's direct drive turbines as well as turbines. The majority of turbines have a gearbox that takes a slow rotation and turn it into real fast rotation. And then there's a coupler and then there's a generator. So let's go through one of those.
Okay. Yeah.
Like a General Electric turbine is a asynchronous generator. So it's 3-phase, and you have a stator and you have a rotor. A stator is the outer portion that has wiring all around it, just like and then you have a rotor that excites electrons and then puts it into that wiring and then sends it out. And now that is 3-phase AC. Those asynchronous generators can pull power not only off of the stator, but also off of the rotor. So you're pulling power from both things, and then they sync up. That's really cool. But then on a direct drive, you have, there's even more options there, but there are turbines that have permanent magnets inside of them, inside of the generator, and they're pulling out DC, and then it's rectified to AC.
AC, correct.
Obviously, we have to match the grid here in the U.S. We're at 60 hertz, and we have to get within that wavelength, right? And we have to match it all up. And usually, your tower power is either 575 volts or 690 volts, and then it goes out to a pad mount transformer or an internal transformer, and that's 34,500 volts. That it takes that lower voltage and then bumps it up or steps it down, whatever you need to do.
Correct,
and then it goes out to a substation, and that substation then bumps it up to like 350,000 volts.
Yeah.
And then it's out on the line, and we're ready to go.
So let's talk about our French buddy amperes. How many amperes are we talking about here up in the I'm sorry, what was the name? The shell. I want to call it that. We have a thing called a shelter.
The nacelle.
Yeah, the cell. Okay.
Yeah, the nacelle is up tower. So yeah, man, the amount of amps being pushed out
is enough to kill you.
Oh fuck yeah. Like, dude, every time you got to shut everything down, man.
Yeah.
You got to shut everything down. Yeah. I mean, like 60 amps or more on a 575 line. Or,
yeah, no.
You know, you can monitor it real time and tell how many amps are actually being pushed out. But you have some low voltage DC that has a shit ton of amps that could really pop you, you know. But yes, the risk is there. It's a lot of power, but all considerations are taken, man. I mean, you shut things down before you even get in there. You got to be a real dumbass to try to get into a live electrical cabinet and mess with some high voltage, you know. This is all like 575, 690. That's all actually considered medium voltage. Yeah. But that is a ridiculous amount of power when you consider like your house has 120.
Correct. You know? Yeah. We're working with electricity. It depends. There's a lot of factors. So, you know, your house electricity could kill you. If you have a bad heart, you know, and some people, I've been zapped a couple times. It's just, okay, you know, it's no big deal.
Christmas lights got me one time. Bad.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. One thing with electricity, it just depends on you and your body. And it's crazy because electricity just does what it wants to do. It's unforgiving. That's why I got out of, what I was doing. I really wanted to become a lineman. Actually, I want to be an aerial lineman. And I saw too much stuff. My foreman killed someone before. He almost killed me. I said, I'm done. I'm out. And I was with the good old boys out in Texas, so they don't follow. They're now we're fast forward. We have all these.
You needed a new foreman.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. They're all corrupt, man. I'm going to get later into the podcast. It was an experience, man. It was crazy. It was, I'll tell you a little thing. I'll tell you just a small little snippet of it. They had this guy at the yard called the Main Mexican. And basically, I think he took equipment. Yeah. So he took equipment, like, front end loaders, all that stuff. Took it to Mexico, sold it, made money. Then the company were reported as stolen to get money from insurance. Well, he got busted in Mexico for it, did some time, kept his mouth shut. And homeboy's got one of the finest houses in North Houston. He's got a brand new F-350, and he'd sleep in his truck in the yard. And it was, yeah. So, yeah, that's how that culture was. And I was like, everyone hated it. They were crazy. I'm out. So I got to see a lot of things I wish I didn't see, but also it's cool to see with electricity. Cool.
Thinking about, like, one of the scariest things that I would do once you got certified and you were good to go is you could switch the transformers down tower, and you had to wear this big suit. We call it the 40 cal because it's supposed to protect you up to 40 calories per centimeter squared or centimeter cubed or something like that. So, like, big old suit you put on, hot as fuck. You put this big old hood on. You look like you're about to go to Mars. It's this big stick made of fiberglass. It's got this metal connector, and you have to open up this transformer, and it's buzzing. It's just like, it's like the sound of death that could just reach out and grab your ass. And on the front of this thing, it has an image of like this evil electric bolt, like being angry and like killing the dude. You're like, wow, like this is weird.
Damn.
And so you open that shit up and you're in your suit and you extend it out and you're holding it. And
so when you're holding,
what it
is it a shotgun stick? We have something called like a shotgun stick.
Yeah, shotgun stick. It's extendable. You get on there and you turn that. You turn this thing. It's like this switch.
Yeah.
Oil switch. And it just turned it off. And oh man, it always scared me. And I always wanted to like grab my nuts. I don't know why. Like that was what I needed to protect or some shit. And it was funny, man. But yeah, that'll get you, man. And then when you turn it back on, you're just always aware that there could be a huge arc blast.
Yeah.
You take precautions. You look at the oil level, the temperatures. You look at everything in there. Make sure nothing's crossed across phases. Because I mean, we're talking like snakes and weird shit get in there, like animals. Like you have to inspect it before you go in there. But the biggest mistake that somebody can make is to change to latch onto the wrong switch. So there's one thing that you can change, like the dial of the, like, I don't know. Anyway, we're getting in the weeds of this shit. But anyway, you could grab onto the wrong thing and turn that, and there'd be a huge explosion.
Damn. Yeah, no, I mean that. Well, for me, I don't grab my nuts. I do this. I kind of look away. I'm more. I don't want my eyesight.
You can't grab your nuts because you're.
Oh, that's true. Yeah. I see what you're saying.
Yeah, you just feel exposed.
I'm gonna get you a special cup for Christmas. So that's cool. No, yeah. One time I was working in a power plant, and in the power plant, it's just DC. It's like -48, but there was an arc blast. So a lot of times, we'll touch metal on metal or something, and I had an arc blast, and I looked directly into it. I mean, obviously, I didn't know it was going to happen, so I saw it, and I guess it's called welders. I forget what it is, but 2 hours later, it felt sick, and I still kept seeing that white thing. So now every time I hit breakers or anything electrical, I'm like, my eyes. I don't really care about my skin. That'll re-heal, but my eyes. That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's awesome, man. So, and then it goes down the wire, and you said it goes to a pad-mounted transformer, and then it could get stepped up, stepped down, goes to what is it called?
underground cables, and it all leads to a substation.
Substation. There you go.
That usually is on the site, and then it's like stepped up from there and sent out on the lines, and then it's coming into your house or your businesses or whatever.
My next question is, who uses this electricity? Where from the substation? Where's it going from there?
Yeah, so currently in the United States right now, we have enough turbines to power 36 million homes.
Wow.
And most of this is getting consumed by, residential users. But yeah, huge businesses like Facebook, Microsoft, General Motors, all buying wind power to power their facilities, and even locating their factories close to regions that have wind energy so that they can use that. And it's part of their commitment to just making the world a little bit better and all that. But aside from all of the green, promotional stuff, that honestly has been grabbed upon by the left in the political arena, this shit is just making sense. I mean, we're just making power, man. I mean, we need more and more power every day.
Yep.
So it is clean, but I mean, a lot of people just like to suck on that tit, and just milk it. But it's just most people that are in this are pretty conservative dudes. I mean, like most wind energy is in Texas, South Dakota, North Dakota, Iowa.
Yeah.
I mean, these are hardworking people, and I don't know.
So how many?
Try to politicize something, but.
So these turbines, how many emissions do they emit?
You mean like construction, like during?
Once it's that's what I'm thinking. In my head, in my brain, I'm thinking zero. Right? There's no pollution to it.
Zero. Yeah, and then we don't use any water. So the thing is about traditional power sources like coal fire is they have to use water. They have to create steam to turn a steam turbine.
Correct.
Or even if you're using natural gas to fire, whatever you're doing, you have to boil water and create steam. And water isn't really in abundance, especially out west, right? So that's a big one. We don't use any water at all. We do, if it has a gearbox, we have some oil in there, but that oil lasts like 10 years or more. Like, you don't change the oil, that oil is built to last. It's thick and it stays in there, and you sample it every year. But yeah, there's no emissions, man. Yeah.
I mean, it makes sense to me. I think, what's your feelings on, well, before we go down that road with turbines, I've seen this is the traditional one we see. I see that picture that you got in the background, which is cool. And basically it's on the ground, it's mounted to the ground. It's pretty self-explanatory where you have your blades and it makes its energy. But I've seen things, I think in Europe, where they have them out in the ocean. I've even seen ones like on the freeways where they have little turbines. So when they pass through, are those you think those will be beneficial in the future? Is that something we could actually put into cities?
So you asked two questions there. Let me touch on the offshore. So yes, our European counterparts, they have offshore turbines, but they also have a very, very prime area to put those because of the depth of the seas and the oceans that surround these regions. They're very shallow in comparison to what we have in the United States. We have a continental shelf that pretty much just drops off on both the East Coast and the West Coast, depending on where you're at. Mostly it's quite deep. That's why one of the projects that is going up here in the United States, one of the first, is called Deep Water Wind. But what we've done is been able to engineer floating vessels, essentially, just like offshore derricks, but we're floating, but you're anchored down with a cable, and that is booming, man. We're gonna produce 85,000 more jobs in the next 10 years at least. That's a minimum, and offshore is going to really kick up here in the U.S. But we had to engineer that in. We didn't have 13-meter seas, that ain't even the ocean. We got the ocean. So we're pushing it forward, man, and this technology is going to push it forward. So absolutely, offshore wind is amazing. We got trade winds, consistent. You could see it in Hawaii. We have turbines in Hawaii. Those things run constantly, and they're just modern marvels, man. But as far as the freeway stuff and all that, I think it's cool. I don't know too much about that stuff, but it makes sense as long as it's all going in one direction and you don't put it too close to the cars going the other direction. Or maybe it would work. I don't know, man. I don't know that much about it. But yes, the wind is a valuable resource. I mean, it's created through high and low pressure, obviously generated by the sun, heat, temperature, and so it's not going anywhere. Our world operates on wind. It needs wind to survive. And
okay, I'm gonna ask a stoner question. What happens if we didn't have wind?
The world as you know it would stop existing. Wind transfers so much, just natural energy from our plants, our oceans. Things need to move. Water needs to be moved around in the air, and moisture needs to be transferred. Pollen, seeds. We'd be fucked.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Basically, well, have you ever been to Lake Elsinore?
Hell yeah.
Lake Smell some more radioactive water. Yeah, so they had to put fans or turbines in the water, because when water becomes stagnant, you get bacteria, the marine life dies, etc. So I guess in a sense, it's kind of the same thing with land. If you have you don't have, I guess wind is actually very important. I never really thought about it and that's why I asked these stoner questions. So
yeah, I mean, it's a pain in the ass for a lot of people. It's like, it's windy today, I can't do shit.
Yeah.
But you need it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how windy it gets by you. I'm sure you've probably been in some windy areas. Have you ever been in a windy situation where it literally knocked you off your feet? Because I've seen out in Russia, or I think somewhere on the East Coast, where people were like literally like at a 45-degree angle walking. Yeah,
I have been in situations like that, and it's really dangerous. And we don't work on turbines when it's that windy. You evacuate at usually like 25 meters a second. You're out. You don't work anymore. But when it gets that windy, man, you get down when you're on the ground. It is really damn hard to open the truck door, and you better hope that your truck door. We actually make sure that we park the truck into the wind so that you open the door, they close correctly. Because we've seen truck doors just go opposite, negative, like go the other way, mess up stuff. And I think that's like the biggest, fear with it super windy is like the truck door, like wrecking your ass.
For me, if it's my personal truck, that wouldn't. I mean, if it's a company truck, they'll get the door replaced. But my personal vehicle, hell no. But you'll be surprised how many guys out there, this is stupid stuff they don't think about, Yeah. Then
got into the wind, man. Yeah. Even if it's just like 10, 15 meters a second, that wind can catch that truck door and just pull it backwards. And company truck or not, you're going to get in trouble. I mean, if it's a company truck, you can be like, why didn't you do what you're supposed to do? Like, shit, I don't know.
That's crazy. You almost need a, I think we call it like an off-road world. I think it's called a bump strap. You know what I'm talking about? You almost need those for car doors for what you do. But if, like you said, if you're smart, but I'll be honest, sometimes I'm not thinking and I'll just do what I want.
You can even be smart and the wind can change directions, right?
Yeah.
I mean, because the wind can be flowing north to south and then you're up tower and it changes north to south, the other way.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh shit, I got to like figure out how to get in my truck and not wreck it.
Yeah. One other question I have is, when you climb these, is there a cable grab? So do you attach yourself? We have it's called like a cable grab that goes onto your chest harness, and you just go straight up the ladder. Do you have to clip and climb? You know what clip and climbing is?
Yeah. Nobody wants to do that.
Hell no.
So in the beginning, when you're building it, you don't have that, what we call a lad safe cable. The lad safe cable runs vertical with the ladder. and you hook into that as you climb. It captures your progress. But before that is installed, yes, you have to
Clip and climb.
climb, hook, climb. And yeah, that's a pain in the ass. But no, you're doing a lad safe and a lad safe cable, usually like 3/16 and steel. And then if you're lucky, your site has what's called Climb Assist, which is like this additional like polyurethane cable that uses like a weight or like a motor to like assist you to climb up. So it helps you climb up. Take some of the weight
that's too
off
nice.
You.
That's way too nice.
Yeah. We didn't have that early on, and when I managed the wind farm. I worked at this wind farm for like 8 years, and when I left, I bought it for the guys. Like I kept pushing, but it's like a luxury. So the company is too pretty to like help you out with that. You're like, look, man, I gotta like keep these guys going, and if we don't get this, they're gonna want to quit and go somewhere else. They don't have to do this because wind techs have a lot of skills, and they can get picked up by other companies, and they don't have to climb.
Yeah,
they can work in industrial maintenance. They can work at like the Amazon factory where they're pumping out all these machines and stuff, work in the AC and get paid $35-$40 an hour. And a wind tech will get picked up like that because he just knows all the skills. No, I'm like, we got to get these guys this Climb Assist so they want to stay here. And no. And then finally, the day that I left, the Climb Assist packs like came in, and it was cool because I got to leave on a high note. And I'm like, I did it. I finally did it for y'all. Like here they are.
Mama, we made it.
Yeah, I made it, man. Yeah, that was crazy, man. That was an emotional day, man. Those dudes, they gave me a lot of love, man. I had worked there for a long time, and they were like, "You're fucking nuts for leaving this."
Yeah.
And I'm not nuts, man. I'm driven.
Hell yeah.
And here I am, almost 4 years later, man. I just been working for myself.
Cool, man. We're coming up on an hour here. I'm trying to keep everything under an hour. Other than that, so let's just finish off on a high note. And you don't, I don't think you climb these anymore. So tell the people, or I might be wrong, but tell the people what you do now, which I think is awesome.
Yeah, so you're right. I don't climb every day anymore. I'm not a technician. It was really hard to manage this business and climb all at the same time. It was just, I burnt that candle from both ends for years. So I started this in 2012, created the community, created the Tower Climbing Grease Monkeys Facebook group. That's where it all started. And in 2014, I got just more and more demand for like apparel. They wanted apparel. They wanted to rep what they did for a living. And so I started doing that, and I was selling shirts, hats, hoodies out of my basement in 2014. And I'd work during the day, I'd come home, stay up late and pack stuff, get it out. And then 2017 hit, and I quit my job, and I decided that I was going to do this full time, and I was going to promote this community. I was going to give back to this community of wind turbine technicians. I was going to continue to do the apparel line, the lifestyle brand for wind turbine technicians. But I was also going to tour around the world, and I was going to promote products and services that added value to these guys. There were so many things that they hadn't seen. In 2000, I think it was 2017, I went to my first trade show. And I had never been to a trade show. I'd been in, 10 plus years and never been to a trade show. And I knew that these guys hadn't gone to the trade shows either. And they were using these procurement people that were pretty disconnected from the industry and the day-to-day worker to figure out what these guys should have. And I thought, that's not right. So I decided to take my truck and trailer, load it down with all the latest and greatest products and services, and promote it straight to the techs in the field. And that's what I did, man. And so I created this traveling trade show, and that was actually my primary energy or income source. And so I get sponsored. I get sponsored by companies like WD-40 and Amsoil and tooling companies like Star Willie, and it was great, man. I still do that to this day. So that's what I do, man. I have a community, I have a lifestyle brand, and I have a traveling trade show. And we're going out again this year. We're going to go out in a month, and we're going to hit all the construction sites. We'll have a pop-up shop where we sell all of our stuff. We'll promote one main sponsor and show off what they got, and keep this community growing and keep it real, and keep it in person, not just online. I want people to know that I'm real, and show up and be there for them. And so I got big plans, big things to do, but that's where we're at right now. And
I love it, man.
It's a lot of fun.
No, I love it, man. I ever since I talked to you first, I could tell you're a people person. You're for the people. Super nice. I think you're living the dream. I'm definitely jealous of your life. You're out here going to the lake. Seems like every day. You got a boat, you got a trailer, you got a house. You're living it, man. And I think that's motivation for people, at least for myself, that, you know what, all those hard days, sometimes working with foremans and just working in situations are like, man, why am I doing this? It can pay off. I don't think everyone's going to be as lucky, but definitely it pays off.
And I've always been a dreamer, man. And I've always had these guys that never really shut me up. We would commute an hour every day and I would just dream out loud. And they always encouraged me. And I remember the day that I said I was going to leave, man. It was an emotional day. It was a day where dudes actually saw my dreams coming true, but yet they were scared for me.
Yeah.
I was leaving the top spot, and they were like, man, you crazy. I'm like, nah, man, I got this. And I didn't know what I was going to do right away, but I figured it out. And it's funny. I got some haters out there because they're like, oh, you don't even climb anymore. You're like, bro, how am I supposed to be the coach and the quarterback?
Yeah.
Come on, bro.
Nah.
You don't know what I do every day. Plus I promote the industry. I just got off of a tour where I went to Washington, D.C., went to the U.S. Press Club, man, and did 15 interviews in one day. I promoting the industry, promoting these guys and what they do. I'm doing the best I can, man. I know I'm not faking it. I can tell you that. I put my time in. I put 10 years in the field. If that ain't enough, then fuck you,
Yeah. No, listen, surprisingly, I thought I was going to have a bunch of haters, and I'm sure they do. I'm sure I have a lot of haters out there. They're not very vocal. But you're going to, if you have haters, you're doing something right. I'll tell you that. Yeah. If you don't do anything, no one's going to know anything, but I'm sure, I met you through this, and I think that's cool as hell, man. I'm glad there's someone else out there like me. And I think you're a little more genuine than me, but I'm still out in the field. So I'm still, I got some hate towards people when they don't work. So
yeah, you're doing it, man. And I encourage what you're doing, man. Thanks for letting me be a part of this.
Likewise, man.
We should do it again, man. Let's have some pointed conversations about it and make it a regular deal, man. I like it.
No, man. Like I said, I've been a fan of you before I even met you. Anything you want to shout out? Anything? Any promotions? Anyone you want to? Maybe you got a lover in Vegas you left back home you want to shout out to or something?
Yeah. Nah, man. If specific shout outs, I don't know. I mean, that's all the technicians out there in the field. And if you're interested in just getting into wind or knowing more about it, you can check out our Instagram at Tower Climbing Grease Monkeys. You can check out our Facebook. We got a public page for our business, TCGM, and then we got a private group on Facebook called Tower Climbing Grease Monkeys if you're on there. And, whatever media you want to look at, man, that's where we're at. We got a website. And then follow us on Snapchat, TC Grease Monkey. Once I hit the road, I put the locations on so you can see where I'm at. I do this thing where if you spot the monkey truck, I'll hook you up with some swag.
Nice.
And yes, traveling around the U.S., man. So we're out there, man, trying to do the work. So
love it, man. Love it. You're awesome, Neal. I enjoy you. I love our conversations. Definitely, I have a lot more questions, but we'll wrap it up for this one. And
yeah, maybe next time I ask you all about yours, man. About tower climbing.
I could talk for hours, especially about this.
And
so
eventually, we got to cross.
Yes,
I get you up a wind turbine, you get me up a tower. And
I love it, man. Yep, definitely. Cool, man. All right.
Respect.
All right.
Later.
I'll see you in the next one. Later, everyone.
Thank you for listening to American Tower Climbers. We hope you enjoyed the ride.
I love the show, guys. You're awesome.
For more information and updates, make sure to follow us on Instagram and Facebook at American Tower Climbers.
I always follow them.
Until next time, take care, y'all.